Hi there, I'm Mr Eon, and I'd like to give you a crash course in Empyrean. Now, just to set the backdrop for this, I'm an old space cadet, and in my youth, when I purchased a game, I'd expect to walk out of a computer shop with something in a box, and then there would be things and stuff in the box, usually to set the theme for the game, and all great fun to get home on a Saturday afternoon and pull all this out and have a look at it, and maybe you get things like maps and kits of parts to build things. I'm joking about the little space dolly to play with and dress up, but you get the point. And also maybe a user manual or the rules of the game to give you some kind of introduction to explain what you're supposed to be doing. Well, in lieu of that, I walked straight into the early release game, got a bit lost and didn't enjoy myself. So I went back and learned how to do it properly. And what I'm trying to do is convey all those tips as quickly as I possibly can so you can enjoy the game.
We are more committed to your safety than ever, and that's why we'd like you to pay careful attention to this important safety information. First, please make sure that your seatbelt is securely fastened. Seatbelts can be purchased for $5.
This will be a fast-paced beginner's introduction. Firstly, I want to improve your enjoyment of the game and avoid some of the frustrations beginners experience. I will try to avoid spoilers as far as I can, and I will show you some good tips and tricks that I wish I'd known when I started. I hope to explain the concepts of the tech tree templates and blueprints, because that kind of baffled me to start with, and what I call the hierarchy of needs, because you need stuff to make things and you need things to make stuff, and if you can work out that, you're a good part of the way there. We'll have a basic coverage of building and why, because I didn't think I needed the creative mode, so I didn't bother with it. Turned out that was the key to the game. Once I understood how to build, I went back and I was much more successful. We'll look at the 4 builds. Well, basically I'm only going to cover a couple, which is the base and the hover vessel. After that, you can work out the small vessel and capital vessel for yourself. Okay, crash course. Let's crash. Wait just a minute. Are we ready to crash? I don't think so. We haven't had our space cadet training yet. You need a manual, you need to know the controls, and you might like some video instruction. So before we crash, let's just back up and I'll show you where to find the essential information before you start. Okay, the first thing to show you is, in terms of a manual, you want to go to the Empyrion wiki. So we'll search for that, and that should take us in there, a very useful page. The official Empyrean Galactic Survival wiki. And this is very good stuff. Get rid of the ads. So it's a 3D open world space survival adventure in which you can fly across space and land on planets, build, explore, fight and survive in a hostile galaxy full of hidden dangers. Ooh. Now, there's a lot going on in here. A lot of people say there's a big learning curve. So this would be a good place to get started. I jumped straight in with the tutorial, didn't really get on with it, but I'll show you how to handle that and how to get your attitude right about the tutorial, because it's chucking a lot of information at you when your eyes are all over the place when you've just landed in a new environment and you're looking around. So I'll show you where to watch and how to rewind the instructions. There are things here that are definitely worth reading. One of the things I'd suggest is that you look at building. So we'll open up a new tab for that. There are 4 types of things you can build: bases, capital vessels, hover vessels, and small vessels. And you'll be given a motorbike, which you just saw there. And then you'll probably want to craft yourself a hover vessel. Now, these things can be resed from blueprints. The components that they're made of and devices that they're made of actually come with your constructor. So that's another thing to look at. And that probably comes in under crafting. There's a thing called the tech tree, and as you can see, explaining it is kind of messy because they've got rings everywhere. Basically, look at this thing vertically. So as you go up a level, and you'll start at level 2, so you're not going to get to level 3 until you've survived a little bit, mined a bit, found some stuff, and maybe killed a couple of things. And then you can start to unlock these other items, which will then appear in the constructors as templates, and I'll show you that. As you get experience points, you can use these to unlock these items one by one as you proceed. So it jumps up in stages of 2, level 3 to 5 to 7, and then it jumps 3 to 10, and then it's 2 again to 12. So it seems like it makes sudden jumps when all of a sudden better guns, more ammo, better craft are available to you. Let's look at crafting. You will have constructors, and one of them will be the survival structure. That's obviously the one you start with. So that is your best friend, and it's good to get to know that thing, because that will allow you to build the components or devices that you need to run up a base and get power going to run other kit. And you kind of leapfrog off this, because this survival constructor can build the other constructor, which is the large constructor, and you can use that to build a mobile constructor which you can pop onto your craft. Crafting, craft, vessels. It's difficult to get these words absolutely straight here. And then there's a furnace and an advanced constructor, which are really for later on in the game. So you'll start with your survival constructor, and I would suggest as quickly as possible you want to use that to make a large constructor. The survival constructor will also make you small fuel tanks, which you use to power the generators, and all bases will have a base starter block. Now, if you find a base, you may need to just whack in a generator and or a fuel tank, and that will get you going. You can then add to things like the constructor. And another thing I would suggest that you add is the spawning point, because then you can regenerate back at your base when you're killed. There's also a section on cooking ingredients. Now, cooking is the same mechanism as crafting or construction. So your constructors make things, so does your cooking thing, your food processor. Your food processor is really a food and medicine constructor. Medicine ingredients, you need things like these that you might find if you're lucky. And if we go back to crafting components, you'll see that these are components that you need to make things, and these can be made from things. You're given a motorbike construction kit, which is handy because then you can just make a motorbike, and it's that simple. However, things like steel plate would be needed to make things, and that would be made from iron ingots, which would be made from iron ore. So you're going mining, and you're going to be finding copper, iron, silicon for making glass things, like nanotubes and stuff. Wood would make nitrocellulose, that will make bullets. So you need copper and wood to make bullets. That's possibly the first thing we'll do when we get in world. Other places to look are YouTube, and there are lots of tutorials. This thing's been out a couple of years now, and there are some superb tutorials. You can see some of the great vessels that people have built and some of the fun they've had. I skipped that because I wanted a complete virgin experience with the game, which meant I kind of struggled with some things. The other thing we want to know about Empyrion is get a search up is Empyrion controls. So this would be the key bindings, and here it explains them a little better than it does on the site, but you can find this again on site. The principal keys are W to move forward, so you're going to be placing your left hand on the keyboard, probably your middle finger for the W, and you go forward and back with S. Then you have strafe left and right with A and D, and you also steer the motorbike with those keys W, A, D. However, when you're walking around, you're using the W, and when you're flying, you're using W, and you use the mouse to look around where you're going. So that might confuse certain people. Certainly confused me that I was flying all wrong after having used the motorbike. There are some other ones to point out. Reload weapon is R. That's very useful. When you first put your weapon in your hand, you forget to do this, and then you pull the trigger, and the first thing that happens is you lose a couple of seconds while it reloads. I'm hoping in game we can time that and see how much time you're losing while the enemy is advancing on you. Bad move. So as soon as you put a weapon in your hand, I suggest you reload it straight away. F you'll use a lot because that is like the use key. Not sure what it's meant to stand for, but it is easily reachable with your left hand again. Tab, inventory, P, control panel. Very, 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 very important. That will let you into control everything on a base or everything on a craft, including even looking down the barrel of the turret guns, and you can fill your fuel and all the rest. J for jetpack on. Camera switch from looking from first person perspective through to looking at third person perspective of kind of standing behind yourself. That's useful for flying craft because I tend to put armored blocks in my view. So I then use the V key to look at the whole ship rather than try and look out through a little slit that I've left myself so I don't get shot. Okay, there is a tutorial. I'm going to skip that, but I would like to say that it chucks stuff up at you in text. And as I said, when you jump in as a virgin, you don't know what's an active artifact or just scenery. So you're looking at everything, poking everything, and these little text messages are coming up. So it's important to understand how to review those. And there's an accumulative log of those. And it does tell you this, but what it doesn't explain is there's two modes. And I kind of didn't get that to start with, so I was getting frustrated. To be honest, I didn't know how the keyboard worked either, so I spent an hour in that room before I even got out of the bedroom and went to use the toilet, which is your first mission as a space cadet. Let's quickly look at options, because in there you can adjust the controls. So once again, you've got a view of what your controls are, and you can remap them to secondary keys to suit yourself. So there's a reminder of what the keys were. I've turned down the music on mine, otherwise it will distract me. So let's go back and we'll go to a new game. And we will call this one perhaps Demo. The game modes are Survival and Creative. Now, in creative mode, I skipped it initially because I imagined that was for people going on to multiplayer or who understood the game, and as a more advanced option, you could then go and build your own stuff. But in fact, it's a great place to play because you're not getting attacked and you have infinite inventory. Okay, so I didn't get on with the game at first, and somebody suggested, go and have a look at creative mode and go back. And I did, and I lost a weekend in creative mode, but it was worth it. When I got back to survival mode, I had a much better idea of what I was looking for, what I needed, what I wanted, and what I was doing. The seed is a number that is generated randomly that forms the seed for all the processes that determine where the resources are, such as minerals, bases, enemies, that type of thing. One that I found that I liked was, and you might like to try it, is 559271. And I found that a relatively easy seed. It was comfortable. I was happy playing it. I've had games that have been rough and put me a long way from my base. Then got distracted looking for minerals and things and gone the wrong way and all that type of thing. If I use that seed, then I will know my way around, which will be helpful for a demo. Difficulty settings, I'll let you pop in there. You can set that to easier for yourself. Start locations, there are two basic ones, which is Omicron and Akua. Now, Akua tends to be relatively easier, and Omicron is medium difficulty. It does say be warned, choosing this as a survival start is recommended for experienced players only, and I did find it quite a mean place to try and survive. Although having got to level 8 or 9 in Akua, I then went on to Omicron and got to level 10. I haven't gone back there since I went back to Akua and did a 10 there, because that just happens to be how I wanted to play. You can, of course, go back to the tutorial, and I would definitely recommend doing that. It's a kind of learning the basic mechanisms. One thing that you will learn in there is how to use things from your inventory to your toolbar, and then how to use things. And one thing I want to mention is that when you try and put on a spacesuit or armor, you need a spacesuit locker to do that. So you start to realize you're going to want to build one on your hovercraft, just in case you find one somewhere. Okay. Now let's go into that. So right, we want to swing a right in this seed. You want to get down this valley here, there. Now we're starting to see copper deposit ores. It's promethium, silicon, etc. And there's our base. That's going to be our home for a while. So we'll probably get that thing done up. And we've also discovered iron. Now, what you might not have noticed here is that there was iron at the top of that hill as well, and that can distract you. You want to get a base of 4 deposits as close as possible to one another, and I've landed right at the top of the base, which suits me down to the ground, because that's where I want to be. Now, you always get this briefing from this, what they call the Robinson Protocol, which is a kind of tutorial, but it isn't. It says it's not a tutorial, but a series of guided first steps. So here are the first steps listed. Let's just quickly dash through these. We're going to check the escape pod, and we're going to use that F key to get access to it and load things into inventory. Then we're going to equip items. I find that term confusing. Sometimes it means put it into your toolbar or equipment bar. Sometimes it means you put stuff into the item itself, such as if it was a constructor, you're going to equip it with things. So this term is used in a funny way. We'll see for the first time our good friend, the survival constructor, that we're going to depend on. However, later, once you use that to make a large constructor, you'll find yourself running 2 of them in tandem, and you'll probably make a mobile constructor to put on your hover vessel, and you probably end up running the 3 of them. You place it by clicking, you access it with the F key, and then we'll make a motorbike. That gets us mobile and find shelter. Well, we're standing on it. In there will be a personal container, and we'll go and ransack that for its components and whatever is in it. Then we'll try and activate the base. That's where we use the P key to get to the control panel, and we'll only show you the basics of that, but you'll be using that again and again. That becomes your main thing for pilot and craft and all the rest. We'll claim the base, and all the while our experience points should be going up, and then we'll look at basic farming, because we're going to be growing food, and we can also convert that into fuel when it goes off, so don't chuck out your rotten food. We need a grow light to do that. We'll need power to do that. That's part of getting the base, and we'll then start making a construction site, equipping tools, gathering resources. I would probably gather my resources first, and then we'll start using the map to set waypoints. I'll look at the map way before we do that, and then we do some crafting, pick up some items and fit a solar panel to drive the site and add power, because power is very important. Now, Akua is slightly better. You can skip these if you wish, and you can say let's go. While I've still got the mouse to point at things, let me draw your attention to the left. The jetpack is greyed out because I haven't hit J yet, but that will light up when you press J, and then when you hit the space bar, which takes you up as a human or with a jetpack or in an elevator or in a craft, then the space bar will take you up, C will take you down. U to put your helmet on and off. You don't need it on this planet because we've got breathable air. O2 will only become important once we get into space or planets without breathable air. Gravity, again, only important on planets or asteroids or in space. Health, at the moment 500, that will go up and down as you get beat up and shot and poisoned. Your nourishment levels will start to become important. You can get by for a wee while without worrying too much, but it's an idea sometimes to eat food while you can. Some things can be eaten like berries, some things cannot be eaten, as you will find out when you get poisoned eating things that I won't mention. The food processor then also comes in handy, and this is meant to represent your stamina, and as you run that will diminish, so you can only run so far before it starts to go out of breath. There's your oxygen levels. We don't need to tank up our oxygen here. On the right we have a compass and mini map, some information about the planet, clear open plains, and this is the time till sundown. We have 7 minutes before it gets dark. Temperature and radiation, watch that for later. Our first mission is to check the escape pod, open the escape pod, clear the escape pod, exit the escape pod, and these boxes should tick and give us points. Okay, this at the bottom is your toolbar or hotbar, and you can roll through it using the mouse, or you can select the item to use by clicking the number. So you hit key 1 and that will use your item. I tend to leave my pistol or other weapon in there because I can reach that quickly with my left hand while my right hand's on the mouse. And then you'll start to pile up things in here as you go along. Chainsaw makes a useful backup weapon as well, but you have to get too close to things to kill them, and it's kind of messy. Let's go! So it's telling us, here are these instructions which just vanished off the screen. F to access the escape pod. So we use the W key to get up closer to it. I've got to have a bit of a jump because I had to jump over the solar panel. Hit F. And there's the contents of our inventory on the left, escape pod on the right. You can click and drag items here, or you can use the arrow key to move them all. And some of them go on top of existing things. It's now telling us to exit the escape pod window. And again, you can miss that because your eyes are up here. So we will exit that and see what it tells us next. Now it's telling us to open it again with your player inventory tab key. Hold shift and left mouse click on the pistol, small medikit and emergency rations, and we get points for this, so we'll do it. So we'll shift click, puts the pistol into our number 1 slot. The bullets stay where they are. As long as you've got bullets in an inventory, they will fire that device. Have to have the right bullets, so you'll end up making different bullets. For turrets and things that are built on bases, you need a cargo locker, and as long as the ammo's in the cargo locker, it will work. We'll also take this shift click, there's our medicine thing, and we'll take the emergency rations too, just as it instructed us. Now it's telling us move the survival constructor onto our toolbar as well, and shift click does the job. So that's the first time we're going to deploy, and we'll need to be on the ground to do that because it doesn't use the energy in this biofuel or this cell, which is your 2 main power packs, other than the drill pack, which you find later. This works off solar power, which is handy, so you don't need to run up the base to use that. Now, I'm also going to grab my chainsaw for use as a backup weapon, and I'm going to grab my drill because we're going to go mining for ore and chopping down trees. There, incidentally, is a motorbike construction kit that we're going to use in a moment. So we'll close this, see what it tells us next. Select the survival constructor slot and place it on the ground in front of you. So let's see what happens when you do that wrong. You do 4, and that gives you the thing, and you can see that it's flashing around, but it's not happy, and it's given me an empty red cage. If the cage is red, you cannot place that item. Reason being, it needs to be on the ground, not on top of this base where I happen to be standing. So I'll put that away by rolling my mouse off it or pressing the 0 key. And let's pop downstairs. Usually in your base you are safe. So we'll get inside, and we do that by walking up the ramp. And because there's no power, we have to use the F key to open doors. And we will step ourselves inside. There we are. And we would need, of course, to close the door with the F key too. Once you get the base running with power, which you'll use a constructor to do, then you can walk through these doors and they open automatically. This base has some items lying around that are of interest. Now, as I said, this might spoil things just a wee tad, but at first you don't know what's scenery and what's active components. Some things tell you what they are and you can use, and like the bed, you can F to recover your stamina. This thing here is just scenery. Just beyond there, there's usually some lights. Yeah, there's our grow lights, but it's off. It would glow a kind of pinky colour, probably if we switched that on. So we can do F. No, that's because we have no generator. So we're going to have to build a generator before we can get this base going. Here is our personal cargo box. We'll press F. There's some stuff. We'll just grab all of it just now. What is that thing? An auto miner core. That's, I think, just a tease. You're not going to be able to build that for a while. So we might as well leave that there. So we'll put, in fact, we might as well leave most of that there. We will take the water and the VA boost. These seeds are no use till we can grow something. Let's just leave them there. There's a core, so you could build something else. But before that, you're going to need some other bits and bobs. Look up the wiki to see what you need to build a base. So let's plant our constructor. Let's go out through the door. F to open it. And just stick my nose out so I can back in there. Strafe a wee bit. Hit key number 4 to get the constructor. I'm just going to habit stick it in the gateway. So hopefully it will slow down anything coming in. Point at it and click F. Need to be a little bit nearer. I'm keeping my nose indoors if I can. Right. F to access it. Move the motorbike construction kit to the input field. So here's how this thing works. You have an inventory. It has inputs where you drop things like the motorbike. And then on the right, it has a list of these templates. Now, these are things that it can build for you, assuming you give it the raw materials, such as iron ore or silicon ore or wood or whatever. So anything in these templates will be listed in terms of what it needs to make it. And I just happen to have clicked on plant fibers, and that needs wood logs. Okay, so we're going to be using our chainsaw, folks. Right next to that is nitrocellulose, and that is made from plant fibers. Interesting. Remember that. We'll look at that in just a moment. There's our motorbike construction kit, but the motorbike itself is a device. So the ones on the top left, we use food and medical, so we can make bandages, for example. That will heal a broken leg, as it actually tells you. There's rotten food, which you can make with seaweed, which I've never found, but certainly food goes off, and you can then convert that to biofuel or plant nutrient using the food processor. Weapons and items. At the moment, we've got a projectile pistol. We might want to make some bullets. What goes into bullets? Copper ingots, and nitrocellulose. So there's this hierarchy of needs. because nitrocellulose is a component and it is made from plant fibres, and plant fibres are made from wood logs. So we need to go and get the thing to get the stuff to make the thing. The other thing is building blocks, and you need starter blocks for bases, hover, small and capital vessels. They all have base starter blocks. And that is what they call the core. There are components to make things, including electronics and mechanical components, nanotubes, even computers. All of these things can be made from things. So steel plate, let me tell you, is going to be made from iron ingots. Optical fibre is going to be made from silicon ingots. Electronics is going to be made from a mixture of those. So electronics is going to be copper and silicon ingots. So we're going to want these ingots, and they are made from iron ore, copper ore, and silicon ore. Okay. And when we have the left top things selected, there's also a filter on the right which can totally blank out the entire set of templates. If we hit hover vessel and food and medical, there isn't anything that's food and medical that is totally pertinent only to hover vessels or small vessels or capital vessels or bases. So we have to select the filter that says all objects, or we don't see anything. That can be confusing. So devices, all objects, contains a motorbike. Now watch what happens when I take my motorbike construction kit and pop it in here as an input. That now lights up, and you say, okay, can we make that? Well, no, we can't, not till we switch our constructor on. Then we can make it, and you simply click on it. Whoops, I need to remove that. Let me stick that off and click on that. That gets rid of the wood fibre. Put that on and do the bike. And you can see the bike being constructed. It will end up in the output, and I will put it on my toolbar, and I'll use it the same way as a constructor by selecting the number that it's represented by. Select the motorbike and place it down in front of you. Yeah, we do that by popping it into our hotbar, and then we'll switch our survival constructor off because there's not much else we can make at the moment, and we'll close that window. Now it's telling us to pick it up, which yes, you could do, and go and do the personal container in the base. We've done that. So we can get our motorbike out by hitting 5. Hit it again, and there is our bike. Place it down, and that's done with a click. And then as long as my crosshairs have got the square in them, I can hit F and I'm on my motorbike, and I can use W to move forward. I'll hit F to get off the motorbike and pick it up again by using Shift F. Now let's go and get us some stuff. So we will take our constructor with us, so we'll go Shift F to pick it up, and you can see that that blue frame means we can place it anywhere there. Just roll my mouse wheel to get off of it. Shut the door so that we don't come home to monsters, and we'll come back to that. Oh, quickly, control panel. P, faction private. Now it is mine. Here you see you can access the fuel and all the rest of it, and every device that is in there. Now, when you're building new things, it may tell you what's missing. And the things that are missing in a base to get this working is you need a generator and a fuel tank. And you can see the sun going down. That's too bad. Luckily, I know where the copper is. So we'll run out of here, see if there's any monsters around. We'll have that tree in a minute. We'll go and dig us up some copper. And if it's dark, that's too bad. Uh-oh, those are raptors in distance. They're kind of dangerous. I'm going to ignore them. found that I don't get attacked when I'm drilling. Now, to drill, there's two ways, and here's the horrible way. Hit 8, and let me grab my phone and put it on stopwatch because I want to check how long this takes. Okay, now a couple of things to point out. The blue lines that you can just about make out on the ground there are because in our inventory we have this thing, an ore scanner. And as long as we've got that, we'll see the blue lines when we use the mining tool. So we'll tab out of inventory, and I'm going to start my stopwatch and right click at the same time. Okay, I think that took about 3.5 seconds to actually start and reload, and we'll find it's the same with the pistol. So we'll click and we'll drill and we'll drill and we'll drill, and you see what's happening there? I am falling into the hole, and that is a big problem because you can actually bury yourself and even the jetpack won't get you out. So we'll use a magic thing that they've got in here, which is our drone. And we use that with the F5 key. And we can now fly around using the same keys, W and all the rest of it. And this time I want to get a little bit away from myself so I don't dig under myself, and I can now drill. So I'm looking to square up on these blue bits and then drill down towards them. Okay, there's no two ways about it. That is just a drag, but it needs to be done. You'll see now that I have lots and lots and lots of crushed stone, and I have some copper ore. Now I don't need to dig myself back out the hole, because by hitting F5 again, I come out of drone mode. So while there's nothing else around I can see, let's have that tree, because I'll show you how we can use the constructor now. And I'm going to hold down the shift and W to get there a bit faster. And while I'm en route, I'm going to hit F9. And once again, your chainsaw needs to be loaded. So we'll fire up the chainsaw. Thankfully, this is a lot quicker than mining. So again, a couple of seconds lost while it reloads, and the pistol is the same. And we'll try that in a moment. Right, and if I click the tab, inventory, you can see I've got 3 sets of wood logs. Terrific, that's what I want. I want copper and wood. Let's go home. Now I can see at night by using L, put on my lights, and it's local only. Let's just make sure I got my pistol up. Now let's try that stopwatch thing again. And when I hit my stopwatch and pull my trigger, or hit my left mouse button at the same time, I've lost nearly 4 seconds there for that thing to load. So it's worth remembering to use that R key. Now let's just hope we don't run into anything on our way home. We'll not get too paranoid. Oh, and right next to me are some berries, so I'll just go straight into that tree and use F to pick the berries. Let's just try that again. Yep, I've got them that time. So tab out of inventory, and now sometimes I have a rule, I don't pick food near home in case I want it. Other times it's handy because you're getting experience points. So we'll get up to my home and we'll get our constructor out. Let's just back up to the door. And if I need to, I can just reverse into the door, hopefully. I'll need to turn around and open it because there's no power yet. So let's hit our constructor, which is 5, drop that in the gateway, maybe even a little bit nearer, huh? Yeah, we'll live with that. So we'll go down a wee bit so we can use it. Later on I'm going to blow a hole in the floor so that it's indoors. F to use it, and we've now got copper ore, and we'll drop that in. Let's do the trees first, and then it will show you the sequence. So we drop wood logs in, we switch it on, and we go to components. And we can make planks if we wish, and we can make blocks out of those. Let's make plant fibers, and that creates plant fibers. Having now produced plant fibers, we'll put those into the input, and we'll make us some nitrocellulose. There we go, and we'll put that in as input, and we'll then go to weapons and items and ask it to make some bullets. And that needs copper ingots, which we ain't got yet. So we'll drop our copper in, and we'll go to components and make copper ingots. Right, and we'll put those in there now, and hopefully we should be able to make some bullets. And the bullets are now lit up, so we can make some bullets. So I've got 240, and I've now increased that to 25. So we'll drop those on top of our other bullets, and you could keep making these things and these stuff. So that's the beginnings of things. We'll stick those Akua berries into our user thing in a minute, because they'll probably only go off, and we'll put away our thing for our constructor. Let's have a look at these tech trees now. So let's leave the instructor there and pop indoors. First of all, would it make a device which was power for a base? And the answer is we don't even see it, though you can see a large constructor. We're going to need steel, silicon stuff, okay? But at the moment we cannot see fuel cells, and we cannot see the generator. Why? That's because we haven't unlocked it in our tech tree. So we'll put that away, and I'll leave my mobile constructor there and just pop inside. F to open the door until we get power on. And make sure you close it behind you. Right. Let's have a look at where we are. In two senses. There's the map, and I'm using F1 to get to the tech tree, but I think it's probably F2 or something like that. Now you can see by F1, this is our list of instructions, which is the same as the tutorial. Here are the tasks they're asking us to do, and as I said, 2 modes to this PDA. Okay, and that's this block here. So there's a PDA info and the PDA log. So the PDA log is all the instructions that have come up, and they're in red, white or yellow. So it's telling us instructional things and helpful things and partly narrative. By going to PDA info, we see it in a different layout. And so say we said something like personal container. It's telling me go there, open it, empty it, and my rewards is I get a fiber plant sprout. So I can grow fibers directly now. So sometimes these things have more instructions below, and you can manually complete it if you have to. So in the tutorial and in this Robinson protocol in live survival mode, you use the PDA to look at things. But remember, there's 2 sides to it. The PDA log is everything we've been told so far. So when you're not paying attention because you're looking around, this is the place to go back to. This is where you get the clues. So tech trees are in here. Now these are basically, again, these 4 builds: base, capital, small and hover vessels. And then there's some miscellaneous things to always remember, because anything you can't find it might be in there. There are tools and there are weapons. These are the things that will appear in our constructors if they're green. Now at the moment we are level 2, just simply because we're alive, and we've got some unlocked points because we've done a bit of mining and a bit of sawing and we've done what it told us to, opening the constructor and building a motorbike. As you run around finding things, you'll get more points. That will move you through the levels. So we look downwards in columns, and they jump up in twos. Level 1 jumps to 3, to 5, to 7, and then it's a big jump of 3 to get to level 10. There's 9 not going to make a lot of difference, neither is 8, before you can get to things you can unlock. So if we scroll all the way down the bottom, remember now we're looking at bases. So things like solar capacitor, okay, and solar panels going to work together. You need that pair to generate power. Let's move up. Door blocks, handy. I'll use a couple of them to fence myself in. Large constructor, get that running ASAP, but we haven't got the minerals to build it with. Food processor, surprisingly useful, certainly for making growth nutrient medium, and 1 or 2 other bits and bobs like health things. Light blocks are just for seeing your way around, so it's kind of extraneous at the moment. Clone chamber, oh yes please, yes. That in a base will allow us to spawn back at our base, because at the moment if I die, my choices are to spawn once again where I am, which is probably crawling with monsters, or at Omicron trading station, which is on the other side of this planet, as we'll find out in a moment. O2 we don't need at all. So everything in the left column at the moment is superfluous to requirements for the time being. The stuff we really want though is the fuel tank. Not going to achieve that till we get to level 3, so we've got to go out, forage, kill, survive. O2 station, again, don't quite need that. The 2 items I'm going to covet here are going to be the small generator and the fuel tank. So as soon as I can, I want to get to level 3, and then I will click on that item and unlock it, and it tells me how many unlock points it is. So I need to get to level 3. Now similarly, if we look at tools and weapons, we can't get a shotgun till we get to level 3, so again, something to covet. So it might be handy to run around, but running around is dangerous. So I'm inclined to go and mine all the rest of the minerals that are nearby, and then I can start building at least what I can build. That also kind of gets me points. Once you get a particular weapon, you automatically have the ammunition for that unlocked in the constructor as well. So at the moment we can see a projectile pistol. Might be an idea to build a second one as a spare and leave it in my locker, so that if I can make it back to base, at least I've got a pistol to go looking for my stuff. When you die, everything ends up in a box near your death point, so you can go and collect it again. Let's quickly look at tools. There's something I want to mention in there. The multi-tool. Now, I did mention going into creative mode. Building is something you're really going to have to take consultation from the wiki on, but the multi-tool allows you to blow your constructions away and recycle them. You get the multi-tool in hand, use it like a gun, shoot at a block, and depending on how you got it set, it goes back to inventory. Use right click once you've got the multi-tool in hand to set it to recycle whole blocks or recycle those as ingots or whatever they're made of. Okay, right, so that is our tech tree. We've got to get experience, and we've got to get up through these levels. Now let's look at something completely different. This is the blueprints, and I'm going to filter these out by my own or by workshop, which doesn't have any, or by stock. And let's start with the stock ones. We'll filter that in subcategories from bases, hover, small and capital to show us just, for example, the hover vessels. And we'll do that again by stock so that it's not playing, is it? It keeps showing me my stuff. Okay, my stuff then. The ones that have got a little man next to it, these are mine. These are things I've built in creative mode that come with me into survival mode. And the concept is that as long as you've got the resources, such as iron ingot, copper ingot, silicon ingot, which are all underground nearby, just waiting to be converted from raw ore with my constructor, I can then send that to the factory. And when I go to the factory and add the items in here, just click and drag my ores, then I can start production. And this will make me my hovercraft, for example. And that's a wonderful thing because it actually completely bypasses the tech tree. Now you can see you've got to be at level 3 to unlock that. But these hovercraft are much preferable than the bike. So if you get to level 3, you could say, I want to build a hover vessel, so I need all these components. So again, you need a generator and a fuel tank, just like you do with a base. If we're going into space, you need an O2 tank. And then your O2 station, yeah, not unless you go into space, Gatling guns, thrusters, and as you'll find it at first, you fly through some forests and you'll hit a lot of trees. It's quite handy when you put the harvester on the front and you can harvest the trees as you go and collect loads of wood to make into nitrocellulose. You need the cargo box for the for the wood to go in first. You'll also want cockpit blocks and docking pads and one or two other bits and bobs. I've done about the ventilator. And a hover booster and thruster blocks, and then you start wanting weapons. So beyond your Gatling gun, which is only shoots where you're pointing, the turrets can be maneuvered using your mouse with a P control panel. So you want to start getting up to rocket turrets and stuff like that. If, however, you use the blueprints and res this thing, it might have some guns, it might not. Some of them do. Let's try some other ones. This one, I'm not sure it has guns, but you can see that it's now unlocked level 5. My flying brick is unlocked level 8, and that has loads of guns on it. And that would mean that I would completely not worry about having to unlock points to build it, because I've built the whole thing. So it's useful to realise the power of these blueprints. And if you get into creative mode, you can build things and you can save them. You get a save menu there as well. Now, these things take a while. If you give it the components, such as computers and turrets and things that are already built, then it knocks a little bit off that time. But the library is that, and the factory makes them. And then it tells you it's done, and then you get a spawn menu and you can res these blueprint items. So that's the difference between tech trees, blueprints, and the constructors, which have templates. And that's quite a lot explained in just under an hour. So I would suggest we look at the map as the last thing. And now we start to see this problem that we had when we landed. We've come down in this valley. The opening sequence of me crashing had me coming along this way. And I could see iron over here. Now, if I'd said, okay, I'll just go where I land and take it at that, I'd have ended up near that iron. And the temptation, as a beginner especially, would be go mine the iron. And then you might not realise it's difficult to get up these mountains and down the other side, and it's a long way to get to your base. Or you might go round and you probably end up being open to attack and stuff. So using that seed, make sure you hang a right and come down this valley and end up as near as possible to your base. You'll usually end up on a Kua with a base and 4 sets of minerals. But if we look over here, These are only 4 out of more because we've found 1 iron out of 9. We know for a fact there's more iron here because I've told you that. There's copper, we've only found 1 out of 7, so there's 6 more copper deposits. We know we need iron for making steel to make guns and weapons and turrets and steel blocks to defend ourselves. We want copper for wires and for bullets, and then we want this stuff, which is promethium, to give us power. Now, if you go to Omicron, I've found, and it's maybe pure luck, I don't know, that it has no promethium. There are some meteorites which may replace things if we eat up all the ores. How would we do that? Well, we're going to eat up a lot of trees and copper just to make bullets, because I'm going to be shooting the dickens out of some stuff. And then finally, we've got silicon. So while we're in here, let's use our waymarking by right-clicking. And that's iron. We'll put in a waypoint that is an ore and accept. That will now show on our HUD when we're walking around. Do the same for the promethium and do the same for the silicon. Make a waypoint and accept, and then the copper deposit, accept. Let's have a quick spin around our local planet. It's a small world, but I wouldn't like to have to paint it. Over here is a thing. That thing is TS Akua. That is Trading Station Akua. And at the moment, it's a kind of free tag. Here's a thing, Mr Eon. Space cadets who are crashed. So you might be inclined to head for that. It's certainly going to be one of the offers of a place to respawn. But it's a long way from home, and there's a lot of water between you and it. This water layout I liked. I didn't initially because it's just something to walk across. But in fact, the motorbike is not a lot of use for mountains. So this mountain range is going to block you off from everything around to the west. And in fact, there's a lot of mountains there. And you're not going to motorbike through water. You can swim and you can walk, but it's a bit of a long way. However, once you get to level 3 and you can unlock a hovercraft, they skim very nicely across water. And these long channels make nice little canals to explore. And I ended up going up here. Do bear in mind there's stuff off to the left and right. You'll see a settlement somewhere over there that you can walk in and shoplift. And then as you get further away to what I call Far Bay, they get a bit more hostile over here. But you can kind of work out your way back easily enough. We just kind of shoot through here, along here, and then you're back into this isthmus around here and down this narrow canal, hang a right and you're home. So that has tended to be my exploration route. And there's a nice place to go for a walk over here where you can pick flowers and stuff. And now you've got more bullets. That's probably not such a scary thing to do. So that's a quick crash course that I hope will help. It's key is M to get the map in and out. We've looked at quite a lot of stuff. It's probably an idea to do another tutorial on building because there's quite a lot to it. But you will end up wanting to know how to place items on this base. My next move at this level would be to go and mine out all these ores. They're not very far away. You probably walk there unscathed and do that mining thing that I told you. And I would maybe go get the iron first and then come back, grab the promethium, drop it all off in your locker, and then go and get the silicon. And then you can start making things, and you probably get experience points just by mining and picking up things that you find en route. Okay. Have fun. Okay, at the end of that, just to wrap up quickly, the skills that I picked up represent about 100-150 hours of playing around and gaming and building and stuff, and it gets me to level 10. I've started again a few times and quite quickly get to level 8, 9, 10. And at that level I feel I've got the transport I need and the weapons I need to really explore. Getting around on foot with a pistol is kind of hairy. It can be quite exciting fun at the beginning, but you also get frustrated if you get killed a bit. I tend not to like this spawn concept. I like to save my game and go back to where I started from, but it's a kind of rough way of doing that. The problem is you end up that when you get killed, your kit gets put in a box and you might not be in the same place. So you've got a choice of going back to where you got killed, which is probably hoaching with monsters, or if your base is up and running and the power's on, or maybe your vessel is and the power's on, then you can possibly spawn there. You will end up sort of taking your vessel out and it becomes your second home, and you equip that accordingly. So you end up putting spare rifles and things in there. And then there's things that you only have the one of that you found, perhaps. Like I got a heavy armour suit. Somewhere out there there's a light armour suit I want to claim. But you end up at least in a position where you can shoot back and you can take a few hits too if you built yourself the right kind of craft. And it's a lot of fun, and I've put that tutorial together to get you up to speed quickly. I hope I haven't ruined the game for you. I've tried not to show you too much gameplay. Do by all means start off and just have a run around and see how long you survive. You'll find things to do and tricks of your own. I ended up tunneling into a hillside and stuff to get away from a craft. Another time I put 6 turrets on top of a base to take out a scout vehicle, and it can be quite good fun and a good laugh too. Later on, of course, I haven't even got off the planet. I haven't even bothered to start trying yet. You want to get a small craft, get into space, go to other planets, get warp drive, meet up with other people. There's loads to be done. Okay, I'll shut up now. Thanks very much for watching. I hope maybe you give me a like, and if you think it's useful to beginners, do let them know. If you think it's rubbish, let me know. Okay, thanks guys. And thanks to everybody on the Steam community who encouraged me to give this game a second chance. Cheers. Bye.